I was alone, in that warehouse at 2 in the morning, and something on the other side of a locked steel door, knocked 3 times, not an animal, not the building settling, 3 slow, deliberate knocks, like it knew I was standing right there listening. That is story 2 tonight. Let me start from the beginning. There is something about working alone after midnight that changes a person. The quiet gets too quiet, the shadows stay too still. And you start to wonder if whatever is out there in the dark is wondering about you too. Tonight I have 3 true stories from people who worked the night shift and came face to face with something they still cannot explain. Stay with me. I took the job because it paid $12 an hour, and all I had to do was walk around an empty building. Nobody told me the building was a closed hospital. I found that out on my first shift when I pulled up and saw the old patient intake sign still bolted above the entrance, half covered in plastic sheeting, 20 floors. My job was to walk every single one, twice a night. Start at the top, work my way down, log anything unusual, radio in at each floor. Simple. The first few weeks I was fine, creeped out, sure, but fine. I got used to the way the steam pipes knocked at night. I got used to walking past rooms full of old equipment that nobody had bothered to move out. Wheelchairs still parked against walls. Beds still made up. For standing in corners, like they were waiting for someone to come back. I got used to all of it. Except floor 18. Floor 18 was the old surgical wing. The operating rooms up there had these observation windows near the ceiling, thick glass, maybe a foot tall, running the length of the room so surgeons in training could watch procedures from above. Every room had them. Every room also still had its original equipment, operating tables, instrument trays, big overhead lights, frozen halfway between open and closed like a giant mechanical eye. I hated floor 18. I always moved fast up there. In, log it, out. One night, I think it was week 4, maybe week 5, I was doing my 2 a.m. walk. I got to floor 18, pushed through the stairwell door, and started down the corridor. I was passing the 3rd operating room when my flashlight caught something on the observation window. Condensation. On the glass. Not on the outside. On the inside. Like someone had been breathing against it. I stood there in that corridor and I told myself it was the building. Temperature difference between the corridor and the sealed room, perfectly logical. Perfectly fine. But the building had no active heating on floor 18. I knew that. The steam heat only ran in the occupied floors below. Floor 18 was cold. There was no temperature difference that could cause condensation on the inside of that glass. I did not open that door. I finished my walk, as fast as I could, logged everything normal, and went back to my car, on the ground floor to wait out the rest of my shift. I told myself I would report it in the morning, maintenance issue, probably nothing. But on my way back past that room, and I remember this so clearly, I shone my flashlight up at that window one more time. The condensation was gone. Not faded, not dried, gone. The glass was completely clear. Whatever had been breathing against it had stopped. I quit the next morning. I never went back to collect my last paycheck. To this day, I do not know what was in that room. I do not want to know. What I do know is this: the door was locked. I had the only set of keys. And whatever was in there had been breathing long enough to fog the glass. I worked nights at a distribution warehouse for almost 8 months. Massive place, the size of 3 football fields, under one roof. 15 aisles. Fork pallets stacked 20 feet high, on both sides. My job was to walk every aisle with a scanner, and log the inventory. Just me. Every night. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The first few months were fine, boring, mostly. The kind of boredom where you start counting ceiling tiles just to stay awake. Then I noticed the light. At the far end of the building, there were 4 loading bays, big roller doors sealed shut at night, no deliveries until 6 a.m. Each bay had a motion sensor light above it. Standard stuff. Loading bay C's light kept coming on at 2 in the morning. Every single night. The first time I noticed it, I walked over and checked the door, sealed. Padlocked from the inside. I looked around, nothing. I assumed it was a faulty sensor, and went back to my rounds, but it happened. Again the next night, and the night after that. Always 2 a.m. Always Bay C. Never the other 3 bays. Just C. I reported it on my 3rd week. Maintenance came out, checked the sensor. Said it was fine. Working perfectly. No faults. It kept happening. I started timing it. Over 2 weeks it was never more than 3 minutes off 2 a.m. Something was triggering that sensor, at almost the exact same time every single night. I told myself it was an animal, a rat living in the wall cavity near the sensor. Small enough that I would not see it, but big enough to break the beam. That made sense. That was a reasonable explanation. I held on to that explanation until the night of the knocks. It was a Tuesday. 2:07 a.m. The light above Bay C came on the same as always. I was in aisle 9, maybe 60 feet away, scanner in hand. I stood still and watched the light. That is when I heard the footsteps. Coming from behind the bay door. Slow. Heavy. Moving along the inside of the door from left to right. Then stopping. Then back from right to left, pacing. Something was pacing behind that door. I did not breathe. I did not move. I just stood there in aisle 9 with my scanner at my side, 60 feet away, listening to footsteps that had absolutely no reason to be there. The footsteps stopped. And then 1 knock. 2. 3. Slow, even. From the inside of a steel door that was padlocked shut and had not been opened since 6 p.m. Not a pipe, not the building, not a rat. 3 knocks. Like someone standing right on the other side, knuckles against the metal, making sure I could hear them. I walked out of that building, sat in my car in the parking lot, and did not go back inside until the morning crew arrived at 6 a.m. I never told anyone what I heard. I wrote in my log that the motion sensor had triggered again and nothing was found. Standard entry. I put in my notice 2 weeks later. On my last shift, I walked past Bay C one final time. It was 2 a.m. The light came on. And I kept walking. I worked the overnight shift at a gas station on Highway 9 for just over a year. Middle of nowhere. 1 road in, 1 road out. The nearest town was 11 miles east. I was alone from midnight to 6, 3 nights a week, and the only people I ever saw were truckers passing through. After a few months you get to know the regulars. Same faces, same orders, same small talk. It is the only human contact you get on a night shift like that, so you pay attention to it. You look forward to it. There was a man I knew as Earl. Older guy. Maybe 65. Always wore a dark green flannel shirt, no matter the season. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday, somewhere between 2 and 2:30 in the morning. He would come in, pour himself a black coffee from the machine, put exact change on the counter, never a word about it, just the coins, and nod at me before he left. That was it. Every time. I never even knew his real name. He never offered it. But for almost 6 months, he was the most consistent thing about my job. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Black coffee. Exact change. A nod. I looked forward to seeing him. One Tuesday night he came in the same as always. Poured his coffee, put his change on the counter. Looked at me for just a moment longer than usual before he turned to leave. I remember thinking that was strange. That extra second of eye contact. Like he was going to say something. He did not say anything. He just nodded and walked out to his truck. That was the last time I saw him. 3 weeks later, a woman came into the station. Mid-40s. I had never seen her before. She was carrying a piece of paper and a roll of tape, and she went straight to the community corkboard we kept near the entrance, the one people used for lost pet notices and local event flyers. She was crying quietly while she pinned it up. I did not want to intrude, but she turned to me, before I could look away, and she said her father used to stop at this station. That he had driven this route for over 20 years. That he had passed away and she wanted to put up something in the places he loved. She pointed to the notice she had just pinned to the board. There was a photograph. Dark green flannel shirt. The same quiet eyes. It was Earl. I looked at the dates on the memorial notice. He had passed away 9 weeks before that last Tuesday night. I did not say anything to her. I could not find the words. I just stood behind that counter, and watched her tape the corners of the notice flat, and walk back out to her car. After she left I stood there for a long time. Thinking about that last look he gave me. That extra second. Like he was trying to say goodbye. 3 people, 3 jobs, 3 nights, they will never forget. If you have worked nights, you know what it feels like. That specific silence at 3 a.m., where the building breathes differently. Where the shadows in the corner of your eye never quite sit still. Most nights, it is nothing. Most nights. If you have had an experience like these, I want to hear it. Email is in the description. Your name stays private. If your story is real, I will narrate it. Subscribe to Dark Hole. New stories every week.